I really love to eat, but only to a point. While my palate is certainly extensive, there are plenty of dishes out there that, for a variety of reasons, I simply won't touch. This hasn't stopped other countries from digging into these recipes with gusto though. We may cringe, but people around the world are simply licking their chops. We hope you've brought your appetite, because we're counting down the top 10 weirdest foods other countries love to eat. Not every strange foreign dish stands a good chance of murdering you, but there's still plenty odd to American taste buds. The Armenian soup called khash is just that. Khash is cow meat simmered in broth and liberally seasoned with garlic, salt, and lemon juice. That doesn't sound so weird, except the cow meat in question is from the hooves. Yes, to eat khash is to eat cow feet. Even stranger is how some chefs will add pieces of cow stomach to the mixture. It's all the parts of the cow that American steak enthusiasts tend to ignore, but Armenians swear by it. In their country, khash is as much a ritual as it is a meal. Preparing it can take upwards of 2 days. After removing all the hair, a chef places the hooves in cold water for at least a day. This is to remove all possible dirt, impurities, and funky smell. After all, who knows what the cow stepped in? Then you simmer the hooves in water for 8 hours, making sure to check in every hour to top off the water and prevent both the pot and feet from drying out. After that, you scoop out the broth and meat and serve. All the seasonings come later, added according to the diner's personal tastes. Making this long ritual even crazier is that khash is typically meant to be enjoyed in the morning as a hangover cure after a night of craziness and partying. So for a soup made of feet and stomach, chefs will often go without sleep to ensure it comes out perfectly. It kind of makes spending 10 minutes slaving over a hot George Foreman seem lame by comparison. Ever put food in the fridge and forgotten about it only to find it months later when cleaning out the fridge? You wouldn't eat that, right? If it was halkudok, you would. Typically found in Greenland, halkudok isn't just any shark meat. Preparers usually use meat from the Greenland shark, which is highly poisonous due to all the uric acid and trimethylamine oxide. The only way to detoxify the meat is to ferment it, and this process takes months. First, you bury the meat in a shallow hole and cover it with gravel and large stones. This helps to remove toxic fluids from the meat, but doing so takes anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks. After that, you cut the meat up into strips and hang it out to dry. It's another several months before the meat is dry enough to serve. Once it is, you remove the now browned skin, cut the meat into cubes, and eat. If you've never eaten halkudok before, know what you're getting into. Fermented shark meat still contains a tremendously high level of ammonia, so the second you sniff it, you will likely gag, cough, and possibly dry heave. Those who get past the stench, however, insist the taste is far milder and is actually quite pleasant. So hold your nose and give it a go. The very name should be enough to put anybody off this food. Stink bugs are exactly what they sound like, insects that give off a terrible scent. Much like skunks, stink bugs emit their smell when defending themselves, and even if you like eating bugs, this might very well turn you off to the idea of eating these particular ones. Even so, they're a popular snack around Africa and countries like Taiwan. They're apparently quite spicy, and people love to eat them both alone and mixed in with other foods. But worry not, for the spice doesn't come from the stink glands. When preparing the bugs for consumption, cooks do remove the glands. Not eating the stink might make eating stink bugs more palpable, except for one other issue. You may be eating these bugs alive. In Mexico, they use a species of stink bug called the humil, and this hearty little guy can survive upwards of a week after being cooked and beheaded. So if you eat a taco sauce mix containing humil, there's a good chance those little guys are still alive and kicking. That fact might stink most of all. Chances are you've eaten clams. Perhaps you've eaten them raw. These neurons stimulate nearby muscles and cause them to contract, which makes it seem like your food is dancing around. So why on earth would anybody want to eat such a thing, you ask? To many, the sensation of eating something that's squirming inside your mouth is worth the night out, despite how, if you're not careful, it could be your very last night ever. That's because the still wiggling and contracting tentacles might just latch itself onto your throat as you attempt to swallow them. Quick reminder, the suction cups on these tentacles are incredibly strong. If it does this, you're likely to choke to death. Best to stick to calamari, in our opinion. Eating roast duck is normal. Eating duck eggs is also normal. But balut, which is an egg with a duck embryo inside, is just plain bizarre. This off-putting Filipino dish is prepared by taking a duck egg and fertilizing it for several weeks. After about 3 weeks, the egg sports a well-formed fetus, complete with feathers, wings, and a beak. They then hard-boil the egg and serve it to the hungry party, who eats the entire embryo straight from the shell. While you may be cringing at the idea, rest assured that balut is not a dangerous food unless you choke on the beak or something. You're essentially eating a combination of duck and duck egg after all, and gaining all the calcium and protein from both. What's more, according to local Filipino belief, balut is a great libido-boosting aphrodisiac. That's something to consider for your next dinner date. If you want to try balut, you don't have to worry about shelling out tons of money at a fancy restaurant. This is no rare delicacy, but rather a normalized snack you can buy almost anywhere in the country. Expect to pay about $12 for a dozen balut or $1 each. That's cheaper than a McChicken and healthier to boot. Everyone likes soup, but not everyone is likely to enjoy fruit bat soup. It won't take long to understand why. To prepare this so-called soup, which you mostly find in countries like Guam, you take a wild fruit bat and boil it alive. Then you place the bat in a bowl with some coconut milk and a few vegetables. Then you eat it. That's literally it. Did you notice the recipe doesn't include instructions like debone the bat or remove the bat's hair or behead the bat? That's because you don't do any of that. You eat the whole bat, wings, eyes, nose, brain, and anything else aside from the bones, and pluck the hair out of your teeth while doing so. Never mind that, when prepared this way, fruit bat soup sounds unbelievably bland. It's also unbelievably dangerous. Much like Odoridon, the fruit bat ends up on your plate immediately after dying. Unlike Odoridon, however, this was a wild bat that was only superficially cleaned prior to boiling. As such, it's still loaded with all the bacteria and parasites you may expect from a wild bat. Eat this dish and you're asking all sorts of deadly diseases you simply can't get from a nice bowl of alphabet soup.